I often feel that I'm not good enough. You probably have heard that a lot, but this is really common if you are a professor, if you are in any area where there's a competitive game that's applied to it. And you always feel like you are behind. You never feel like you're quite doing everything that you're supposed to. And despite all of the work that I've done on my research, which I always feel like I'm not smart enough, haven't written nearly enough. I'm behind. And despite all of this whole reciprocity project, which you've seen so much that I've done, and by the way, none of that gets credit. None of that gets credit. Building an entrepreneurial venture is not something that people really recognize. And despite all of these things that I've done and that I work towards and the effort that I put in, I always feel behind. And I want you to reflect on that, as if this is you and you're going through this, just remember that you have to, in order to make progress in your life, and I have made a lot of progress in the last few years, but I'm going to be 90 years old and still growing and still becoming better. But I've made a lot of progress by just simply accepting the world actually as it is, and being okay with recognizing that the world is never going to be, it's not going to be satisfied. And it doesn't matter how much you perform, what you do, how pretty that you actually are, all of those things, it's insatiable. And there's always going to be a desire to do more. And so if you come to the conclusion that you are just good enough, and that all of your warts, everything that is ugly, and that I stumble when I talk, that I don't look as good, I'm getting older, all those kind of things, if you accept all of those things as it actually is, then you're able to move forward. So the default to think that you're never good enough will often eat you up. And you see a lot of people that actually quit or leave. The rate at which people quit academia is actually pretty high, in terms of not quitting in the sense of what you're thinking about, but they do other things. They stop research, they get out of the game, because it's really hard, it's very lonely, and you always have this, it's hard in the sense that you have this mentality that you're always behind, and there's no progress that's being made. And as you do this, you internalize it. So the only way that I have been able to move forward is to accept who I am and tune out all of the noise that happens, right? I want people to understand that you are actually playing the game. You are actually in it. And so if it's not as far as you would think or they would like, and you put in that that just means that they don't understand what it actually is. And the fact that I have been able to build the Reciprocity Project as big as it is and do as much as it is pretty remarkable. It tells me that where I started was much less than where I actually began. And I've actually been able to do this. I've done a tremendous amount myself. And as I have to internalize this and just simply say, I have to accept the world as it is. And accepting the world as it is means that you'll never feel good enough. It means that other people are going to always judge you, no matter what, because they just think that they're somehow better in some sort of way, whatever that means. And you have to be okay with that. I was having this conversation about, even today, if you were to look at people that are highly esteemed and made it, you name the number of different rock stars, or the number of different musicians that they've made it. People that are in classical music, unless they're open, they're going to look down on those people and say that they're not good enough. They haven't made it in my genre, all of those kind of things. That's just what the world actually is. And so you have to learn to come to terms with accepting yourself and being okay with who you are. And it's such a hard thing to do that we all struggle with. But I think it's the only way that I can keep going, is to admit that I'm imperfect, admit that what I'm doing is never going to be quite good enough, and that's okay. That's it. And that's okay. Just accept it. And then that's how I can move forward and do better and continue to get up every day. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.